Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's conversation with BJ Davis, we're talking about something called high-performance play. Basically, it's using play in the workplace to spark creativity in the same way we did as children. It's about reconnecting to that time in our lives and unblocking the obstacles that we create as adults to imagination and progress. BJ, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me today.
So you have a company and you go into companies and work on this. Tell me the name of your company, and let's just start by talking about, how this started. I mean, how did you start thinking about play as a vehicle for teaching people and companies to think outside the box?
Amanda, the company that I founded over 20 years ago is BJD, Leadership Training and Team Development. And our process is called High Performance Play. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But play has been a part of my life since 4. I knew how powerful it was because I went to not only a preschool, but a nursery, tons of kids, and we didn't all speak the same language. So play was important.
Absolutely. And I remember I was very creative as a child. And I remember my grandparents giving me boxes and magic markers and scissors and making little towns. And I remember, writing books because I'm a writer. So I wrote books when I was a child and also writing plays and performing them. So when I think of work and I think of childhood play, they kind of seem to be polar opposites. So how do you, in your job, incorporate the idea of play into the workplace culture?
Well, first, the opposite of play is not work. Actually, the opposite of play is depression. And when we are stifled, our creativity is stifled, it stifles us mentally. And anytime the mind cannot move, which is what play can do, it moves the mind, it shifts the mind. It gives us an opportunity to ask questions like, what else? What can I create from wherever I am? So I think that's important to know that play is actually infused in our DNA. And Dr. Stuart Brown, who's the expert on play, talks about that, how animals play naturally together, how when babies are born, their first thing is movement and play. We are bound to be playful beasts, Amanda. This is so true. And, when you were growing up, they say, stop messing around, stop playing around, get to work. And as soon as we do that, we shut down our creativity. Elon Musk knows how to play. Einstein knew how to play.
Yeah, and I think, you hear people say all the time, well, if you love what you do for a living, it doesn't feel like a job, but that's not always the case. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the techniques that you use. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So, BJ, I know you work with companies with this idea of play. Just talk to me about how it works. How do you do this? What do you do?
Well, like I was sharing with you earlier, Amanda, we actually developed a process that we call high performance play, which has 3 key elements. You play. Who are you as the creator? What are your gifts, your talents? And how do you like to play, right? Like some people use their imagination. Imagination is always going to be part of the formula. The scientists play and doctors play and people on stage. It's all play. So you play. Who are you? And then we play, right?
How do we do it together?
Yes. And how do we do it together? How do we communicate? How do we learn to communicate better so other people play with us? Again, when I was a kid, I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood where my neighbors did not speak the same language that I did. So I knew if I had a ball and a rope, that's all I needed for other people to understand me. And for especially children, because you can play with 100 million games with a ball and a rope. And so we got you play, we play, and we all play, expanding a mission together. We turn it out.
Okay, so I'm picturing playing Scrabble with my colleagues or playing a game of pool. How does this actually work? Because I'm sure some leaders in companies are skeptical about this idea. What do you actually do to help people play together?
I love that. Well, there's it's been a buzzword for the last couple of years, inclusivity and diversity. And until we get to where we can raise the vibration, by the way, Amanda, that's what play does. All play is an attitude shift from saying, this is all there is, this is the way we do it, to opening up to what else. Matter of fact, leaders are embracing this more and more these days because they're seeing that having such strict policies and the way that we do things isn't working. There's no loyalty, and people are leaving and moving to other companies. So what play does is it actually bonds us. You remember as a kid that when you were engaged in play, like everybody you didn't have to say what the rules are. If you didn't play by the rules, you were automatically kind of shuttled back in to say, hey, this is how we're doing things. So we're moving away from saying that inside the work culture, more of it needs to be stressful and we need to get the work done to say, how can we open up creativity in the workplace? It ushers in inclusivity and resiliency. Wouldn't you love it, Amanda, if you went to work and you knew, I get to play with my colleagues today. I don't even know what we're going to create, but it's going to be amazing.
That's kind of what I've been doing for the past 30-some years. And I feel really lucky to have had that career because I know that everybody has that opportunity to create something every single day. It also, what you're talking about, also has benefits for mental health. Talk to me about that.
That's something that we have to address. It has to be top. I don't care if you're in a university right now or you're, running a company of any size. We have to look at the whole person that's coming. You are not hiring bodies. You are hiring personalities, temperaments, talent. And so when we look at mental health from a place of play, it really frees the mind, right? And when, like I said, when people are happy to come to work because they know that the vibration is going to be high for the day, and you and I have talked about vibration, you can feel it. You can feel it when you walk into work and, it's negative and, you're just saying, hey, let me put in my 8 hours and get out of here today. And the difference between walking in and saying, this is going to be exciting. I can't wait to work on this project. The mind wants to solve problems. The mind wants to play. And once we allow that to happen, wow, Amanda.
Yeah, so it sounds like what you're really talking about is just really good collaboration where people's voices are heard, where people can share, where people can throw out ideas. And I know you've done this in person, you've done this online, and you've actually done it globally. Tell me about some of your people outside of the country that you've worked with and how they've accepted this.
Well, recently, and we're really proud of this, a couple of things that came into our path is we had the American Council for International Education contact us. And right after the war had started, they connected us and flew in, about 50 Russian business leaders to engage in first play. What does it look like to move from competitive to creative mind shift? And so we did a whole day program on this idea of how do you build community through play? How can you take ideas and move them out into the world? And also how to work and collaborate with others. So we loved that of all the organizations that do team building and leadership training, we were picked to go to Washington, D.C. We just recently, last week, led a program with Iraq students that were here with international focus. That's home is here. The organization is actually here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we partner with them every year as they bring Iraq students in, and we pair them with local teams, and we do a 2-day leadership program. And the name of the program is always going to be based on the art of building common ground. So they get to play, be creative, and they can't talk each other's language. I mean, we have interpreters 2 days, but they find out so much about each other through the art of play. So those are just a couple of ways.
I mean, I think what's really interesting to me, and that is that, we're talking about businesses and they're for-profit companies. How do you convince people that this is beneficial to to the bottom line because that's what they're looking at.
You know, we are getting to the point where people see it. HR director of NASCAR reached out. We went down to Daytona to help strengthen their team. So I think play is something that's really being realized now, Amanda, as an important concept. And how do we do it? So being the experts on play, it's seriously, everything has its timing. And what we notice is that corporate America is saying is this is not working. What can we do differently?
Especially since the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. Since the pandemic, our business has flourished. And it's not us coming in and motivating your team. So I want to be very clear on this. This is actually a mind shift. It doesn't have to be a big one. But let me tell you what, if I say, Amanda, look right behind me and just shift your eyes, just a little bit, Amanda, you're going to see something totally different. So we help them take a perspective shift. And once they do, anything's possible and another shift can happen.
Thank you so much for explaining this really fascinating stuff. Best of luck. And if you would like to hear more episodes, please follow the WRAL Daily Download in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just about any podcast app. Once you follow the show, you'll automatically get new episodes every weekday. As always, thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download.